Hello, everyone. I'm Chester44, also known as Fly, and welcome to this Let's Play of Citizen Sleeper. Last episode, we did what we could to take the information to both Sol and Helene. They both got the information, and unfortunately, Havenage overall isn't going to be much help. The hardliners are basically against this and see the flotilla and the refugees as terrorists. And don't believe that this is some other thing that just affected them too. And because of this, Helene is going to try and do what she can to help us, but there's not much she can do. And Sol is just going to run. He needs to refit the ship. First, though, we need to speak to Peak. As you enter the climbing briar, you immediately have to jump aside as Esh, lugging a massive crate across the cargo bay, pushes past you, grunting an apology as she does. Reminds me of when we met. Esh sniffs and doesn't look back. As you turn back to the bay, Peak pushes past too. Sorry, Sleeper, just a second. Peak rushes to catch up with Esh. Put that down, please, Esh! But she doesn't respond to their urging. We can't leave, not yet. Peak puts a hand on her shoulder. Please, I'm the only one here who can... The crate drops, the sound of its impact echoing around the bay like thunder. Can do what, Peak? Her eyes are burning with anger. Save this place? Are you still that naive? We are running, Peak. We are running because this thing cannot be stopped. It couldn't be stopped at XPR. Our home! Why would we stay to stop it here? Because we can, Esh. We can give these people a chance. Peak pleads with her. Like they gave the refugees a chance? No, Peak. This is not on us. We barely made it out of XPR. I worked for years to escape, and now you want to throw it all away. I left everything behind. My mother, my friends, to take you out of that place. She turns and slams her hand onto the crate, breathing hard. We go. That's the end of it. Peak turns away. You feel unsure what to do, but you know now is not the time for outside arguments. This is between them. Peak crosses the bay back towards you. I'm sorry you had to see that, Sleeper. Let's talk upstairs. Peak leads you to the entry ladder, taking you up out of the bay and into the habitation level of the ship. You follow them through the tight corridors, noticing the handwritten notes, the clutter, the repairs, the signs of a home. Here, sit. Peak gestures to the broad mess table with its curved couches, and you slide in on one side. Peak sits the opposite. They brush their hair out of their eyes and take a deep breath. So how did it go? What did they say? I've been waiting all cycle. Tell them about Helene. Peak listens nervously as you explain how Helene said she will support your efforts to find a countermeasure for the Shadow Protocol. Okay. That sounds good. Much better than I was hoping. But what about the Council? Are they behind that? Or will she operate alone? Tell them about Kemp. Peak looks increasingly troubled as you tell them about the hardline Counselor Kemp's sudden appearance. Damn. And Helene's going to have problems of her own to deal with. Peak shakes their head. Looks like we won't be able to count on anything from Havenage. What stopped Kemp from arresting her? Tell them about the guns. Peak rolls their eyes. Of course, those are the guns that Esh managed to smuggle through to the refugees. The ones she didn't tell us about. Another thing that's on us. What's on us? Esh is standing quietly in the doorway listening. You don't know how long she's been there for. Peak looks up at her with tired eyes. Sleeper found the weapons you smuggled from XPR. Esh freezes. She glances between you and Peak as if this might be some elaborate joke. The flotilla used them. Esh moves out of the doorway and enters the room. What happened? Peak interrupts. Be thankful that they didn't. They used them as a threat, that is all. Good. Esh folds her arms. You get the feeling that she knows Peak will not approve. Peak goes to speak, and then decides not to take the bait. They glance at you. I'm sure you've heard enough of us arguing the cycle, Sleeper. But our introduction of those weapons into the equation are just another reason why we cannot simply run away. Esh looks away, but says nothing. She surely knows they cannot absolve themselves of responsibility here, so what is motivating her? You realize that she still might be trying to protect Peak, even from themselves. Suddenly, a shrill beeping fills the room, and Peak pulls out their slate to silence it. But as they do, they freeze, their finger hovering above the screen, the beeping continuing its insistent pulse. What? Peak doesn't seem to hear you. They blink with glazed eyes at the slate. Then they let out a long exhale and tap the screen. The bleeping shuts off, leaving a ringing silence behind. Esh frowns at Peak. Planning to explain? 12 cycles. Peak looks vacantly up at you both. 12 cycles until the next flux event. They shake their head. I've been using the arrays on the Briar to look towards the center of the system, to approximately where the CAN channel should be. Just this moment they detected a signal from the inner system. Given the distance and pattern of previous flux events, we have 12 cycles before it reaches the eye. The silence in the room is deafening. 12 cycles, that's it, before a second wave hits in this place. Peak interrupts your thoughts. We start now, that's the end of it. Peak stands up to face Esh. You want to take the Briar and run, Esh? That's on you. But I won't do it. They take a deep breath. I'll be here, Sleeper. For every cycle it takes, trying to find a solution. I'll need your help. Their eyes meet yours, and you see a wild desperation flickering there. We will find something. The sooner we have a plan, the better. If it takes us 12 cycles to fix this thing, it'll be too late. Peak's eyes flash with determination. They reach for a slate and pass it to you. So we can keep in touch. You pocket the thin, handheld terminal. And Esh? Peak starts, but she is gone, storming down the corridors of the ship on a path to who knows where. You know from experience that it is impossible to outrun your fears, but you get a sense that Esh will try anyway. Peak rubs their red eyes, staring after Esh. Maybe I'll take a moment before we start. They smile weakly, tears of exhaustion gathering in their eyes. See you back here soon, okay? And you slip from the room into the corridor, Peak's quiet sobs somehow carrying through the ship behind you as you leave. Climbing Briar. The next flux event is coming, and it can't be stopped. The sooner your preparations are complete, the better the outcome. Peak is desperately looking for a way to combat both the coming flux event and the Shadow Protocol infecting the station. Peak is tirelessly analyzing the flux data and testing countermeasures on the Shadow Protocol. They need your help. We can do that. But what is wanted on the Pilgrim Seed? The Pilgrim Seed will take the majority of the evacuees off the Eye, but is there enough time to settle them all? We've got berth refitting. Building berths into the vast bulkheads of the Pilgrim Seed is a huge job, and Sol needs every able-bodied engineer to help. Or supply hauling. The evacuees will need many supplies for the trip to the Starward Belt, and they have to be hauled aboard in only a few cycles. That'll take 6 successes for both of these. 6 perfects. For now, though, we need to help Peak plan. Please track it, thank you. We can already do some planning. We've got the rolls. You show the latest data to Peak and their eyes light up. They've seen something, but what is it? Fortunately, nice and easy. We have full dice after all. Peak beckons you over the wide mess table where they have set up a terminal. The hours of bleary-eyed work have left you both drained, and Peak looks ready to collapse. You slide onto the curved couch beside them, something dark and malevolent filling their screen like an oil stain. The Shadow Protocol. Not quite. Peak's eyes seem to glitter in the screen light. This isn't what you think, Sleeper. Not by a long shot. You look again at the screen, leaning in close to the dark curved shape to see its texture. You see whirls and currents like a river, a dark flow unlike the Shadow Protocol's dark tangle. You know exactly what this is. You have swum in this river, almost drowned in its shifting flow. It is the Gardener's Chorus, the dark cloud which blankets the Greenway's networks, the bioorganic morass of a malfunctioning protocol grown vast and strange. The Gardener. Peak pauses. Peak glances at you. How do you... Have you met them? I have. Peak shakes their head. Incredible. Then perhaps you won't be surprised by what I am about to propose. Peak meets your eye. Everything I have tried to do to contain the Shadow Protocol has been a failure. It slips through any containment, absorbs any countermeasure. That, unfortunately, is an unavoidable fact. And yet, the eye still spins. The Shadow Protocol is being slowed, partially contained. It has spread across the station, as we have seen, but in reduced pockets, in fragments. So I started to look outside of our test cases, outside of these fragments we have been poking and prodding in our little lab. And look what I found. Peak taps a key on their terminal, and you realize the screen is showing a recording of the data flow inside the eye's networks, sampled from hundreds of points around the Greenway. You watch as a subtle shift occurs at the edge of the flowing dark curve that blankets the Greenway, something spreading like an ink stain. Somehow darker than black, it bleeds across. The Shadow Protocol. Now watch. Peak eagerly points at the screen. You see something strange, a fizzing at the edge of the shadow, a sparking, and then it is gone. And beneath, for a moment, a millisecond, you see into the networks of the Greenway. You are reminded of an image you had forgotten, of pulling a plant from its pot and seeing a bone-white root ball where you expected to see dark soil. The white connections writhe like worms, and then it is gone, the dark flow closing up as quickly as it opened. It dissolved the shadow. Exactly. It protected itself. You think back to your meeting with the gardener, to that sense of something old and world and inhuman to its core. Peak excitedly starts to explain. This is the only chance we have, the only countermeasure we have seen. In the moment it opened, I detected something, a centralized intelligence with the local ID gardener. This protocol, this system, whatever it is, can protect its network from the Shadow Protocol. But if it stays in the Greenway, the eye will still fall. The station systems are too exposed, too spread across the hub, the shipyard, the spokes. Peak glances away. The only way is to break it open, to spread the entity's network access it. To spread the entity's network access it, expand it, somehow. Peak pauses. I've been inside there, Peak. Peak pauses, trying to read your expression. And this gardener, can they help us? You try to remember what that strange being said to you, but all you remember is the feeling of dissolving into that network, the heady mix of growth and decay, the ceaselessness of it. Would they protect the station, or would they simply dissolve it? They might. Peak stands up and walks away a little. They lean against the countertop, their head hanging so low that their long hair touches the work surface. You hear them breathing deeply. I don't know, Sleeper. I really don't know. It's a chance. Maybe. You know as well as Peak that this is it. You know it because over the past cycles you have run every simulation, every possibility you could think of, and still come up with nothing. You have stared a hole into your screen and dreamt of that black shadow creeping in at the edges of your vision. Peak recognizes the look in your eyes, the potent cocktail of resignation and anger. Let's say we do this, Peak begins, eyeing you carefully. What do we need? They begin to answer their own question, thinking out loud. I suppose we'd need to do two things. Find a way to limit or control the gardener's spread, and then reconnect the Greenway. Peak starts pacing, the idea is coming quickly now. Controlling the spread means preparing the station. Limit the gardener's network to key systems. We don't want it taking everything, we just need it to protect the station's core functionality. Then we need to reconnect the Greenway, hook it back up to the main line of the network. Those systems we prepared, they should connect, and Gardener will spread along the paths we prepared. At least, that is my theory. Peak grimaces. But if we don't prepare correctly, the gardener might not spread, or it might spread to everything. And after that, things might get worse. Can't be worse than a total collapse. Don't say it, Sleeper. Peak sits back at the terminal and brings up a map of the eye. Rotational control at the hub, life support at the free spoke, power routing at the Havenage shipyards. They stab at the map with each one, marking them in red. Then there's the central core, as I understand. It is somewhere on the rim. I'd need to find it. They push their hair out of their face. We seed the gardener in all these places. But how are we going to do that? Transplant the Greenway. Peak smiles. Of course. The gardener needs plants to care for. That is what their protocol dictates. They must have been part of the farming management systems of the Eye, back when the Solheim built it. We need Greenway plants. We seed Greenway plants into those systems, and the gardener will seek them out, protect them. It's a wild idea, but it could work. But we'll need a way into those systems. Havenage have most of them locked down for safety purposes. We can't just walk in. I know a guy. Peak raises an eyebrow. Someone in the Havenage systems team? You nod. After everything he dragged you through, you feel like Feng still owes you. Time to pay him a visit. Okay, well, I guess we should pay him a visit. Lead the way. You both leave the ship, carried forward by the excitement of the plan and an eagerness to not look at the details too closely. You push any lingering questions to the back of your mind. Time to head to Feng's Bay. Feng's Bay it is. This should help out a lot. It's a long travel, but we can get there. There it is. Feng isn't in his bay, and no one in the offices upstairs seems to know where he is. Your lone clue is an out-to-lunch note. Feng is both never where he says he'll be and always late. While this is no surprise, now is not a moment for wasting time. Well, I can do one of these. Ugh. A 3. I need 2 more perfects, so... I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rest. I'm going to use this 3... You know what? I'm at the Bantayan. I'm going to go ahead and use another Matsutake cap. Do another bar shift. For the sake of it. And I'm going to rest. And also feed the stray, because I haven't in a while, and I'm sure the stray will be happy to have it. Alright. End of the cycle, let's find Feng. Two 6s, that's what I need. You dig around Feng's Bay and find some notes that mention the flux. What's he working on? Well, that's a good clue. That's it. No more wasting time. Peak sighs and pulls out their slate. They crack open a box on the side of the base shutter and wire the slate to what's inside. Maybe your friend has a Havenage pass card or something inside. Peak shoots you a glance. Something they wouldn't mind if we borrow. Fine, but be quick. Peak nods without looking up. I'm going as quick as I can. After a few tense moments, the shutter jerks and begins grinding open, the noise making you jump. Let's get inside, quickly. You slip into the dark of the bay, punctuated by the blinking lights of Feng's piles of servers, somehow even more disordered than before. Peak makes a beeline for the desk at the center, scattered with tools and components. They flick on a lamp and stare at the mess. Are you sure this person can help us? They are a little disordered. You are interrupted by the sound of footsteps from the entrance. Someone is coming behind you. Peak freezes. I could swear I closed the shutter when I left. Feng leans on a stack of servers near the entrance. Must be getting forgetful. He grins at you. Feng! The very same, Fang smiles. He raises an eyebrow. Thought you'd come to rob an old friend, is that the plan? We need your help. Mm-hmm. You're here about the flux. Peak nods and is suddenly giving Fang their full attention. Fang smiles, pleased with himself. I guessed as much. I saw changes in the old system architectures almost immediately. Some of them have been running since the first days of the station, and so when I saw new patterns, shifts in logic, I knew something must have happened. These past cycles I've been doing a total inventory of the core systems, from the hub to the rim. I was surprised myself, to be honest. I didn't think I had it in me. Peak seems unamused. And what did you find? That's the thing. There's something all twisted up in the systems and protocols, but every time I look at it, it disappears. Do they always do that? Peak ignores him. It's a shadow protocol. It masks itself somehow, bedding into the gaps between the systems, in the negative space. It is slowly filling every system in the station, slowly taking it over, and we need to stop it. You need to grant us access to all the core systems of the station. Rotational control, life support. Fang holds up a hand. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Slow down there. I don't even know your name. And you're asking for the keys to the castle? Can't be done. Fang, it's me. Fang pauses and glances between both of you. How long have you known this one, Sleeper? I know I owe you, but I also know that you trust too easily. Sorry to say it. Peak cuts in. I can vouch for myself. I came to the Eye on the run from the XPR colony Hawthorne with the intent to keep running until we hit the Star Ward Belt. But since I've been here, I've done everything in my power to protect this place. I have helped to stabilize the refugee flotilla, to investigate the flux, to identify and make a plan to purge the Shadow Protocol from the station systems. Meanwhile, Havenage has done everything to stop and slow these actions. I have proven myself as a friend to the people of the station, not the administration, many times over, and I will not be doubted by someone who wears the badge of this corrupt administration. Peak fixes Fang with a hard look. Fang looks down at his Havenage jacket and shrugs. This is all I have in my wardrobe. Look, I have no love for the Council either, friend. But someone has to run this place, and that someone is me. Fang walks over to the workbench where you were both standing and digs a slate out of the pile of tools. You want to prove yourself? Show me. Peak grabs the slate and you recognize the tangled form of a flux node on the screen. Peak immediately starts tapping away at it, its tendrils unwinding, and the shadow, just slightly delayed, slipping out of sight. Fang leans in. Interesting. Before long, Peak has unfolded the system completely, and it lays splayed out like an unwound ball of string. At the center, with nowhere left to hide, is the dark stain of the Shadow Protocol, visible for all to see. What now? Fang asks, his eyes fixed on the screen. How do you kill it? Let Peak answer. There's one entity on the station that we have seen purging the Shadow. The Gardener. Who's that? Some Greenway hacker? Peak glances at you. More like an avatar of the Greenway itself. You explain the Gardener to Fang, the feeling of descending into the flowing river of consciousness. You explain the networked chorus, the non-human collective of voices. You tell him of the farming AI's offer to you to be networked into the chorus, dissolved in its flow. Then you explain that by granting it access to the Eye's major networks, you hope to reinforce them. Fang is silent for a moment. And you want to let this thing out. That's the kind of stupid plan I'd dream up. I like it. This place is rammed with weird protocols and forgotten intelligences anyway. What's one more ghost in the machine? We'd try to limit it, of course. That's why we want your help to access the Eye's major systems, to seed some of the Gardener's spores into them, to draw the Gardener's focus to those places. So the way we save the Eye is by growing mushrooms in all the server stacks? Sleeper, congratulations. You found someone weirder than you. Peak goes to argue, but Fang holds up a hand. In it is an all-systems Havenage pass card with his picture on it. Take it, before I change my mind. Thank you. Don't mention it. In all honesty, Sleeper, I was on my way back here to start tearing the place down. The Shadow Protocol had me spooked. So if you're telling me you've figured out a way we might fight it, no matter how crazy, then I'm glad to help. He gives a tight smile. Come with us. No, Sleeper, I have to keep on with my work here. Strengthen those systems, back up the data. If the worst comes to the worst, I'll need to rebuild. I won't let this place die. The last pieces of my parents are here, among the data. Goodbye, Fang. Fang embraces you firmly. Stay safe, Sleeper. You take the card and leave the bay with Peak. Once you are outside, they stop you. We should split up. Peak looks worried. We've wasted enough time as it is. Head to the facilities in the hub of the Free Spoke on the far side of the shipyard. Seed the Gardener there. I'm going to find the core control center that's somewhere on the rim. They hold up their slate. I'll send you a message on your slate when I have something. Good luck. They squeeze your shoulder and you exchange fearful looks. You know deep down that Peak isn't sure this will work, but they have decided to act, to move with confidence. And for that confidence, you're very thankful. Alright. Well, I tell you what. We're going to seed these in the next episode, because this episode's gone on, I think, about long enough. Next episode, we start working on saving the Eye. Till then, I am Chester44, also known as Fly. This has been a Let's Play of Citizen Sleeper, and I shall see you all next time.